Today we're going to start the manga effect, and I will be using this image of Scarlett Johansson to create a manga effect. This is what the image looks like now, and when I'm done it should look something like this. Okay, so the things that you'll notice in a manga is that they have big eyes, and they have a small mouth and a small nose, and their face shape is rounded but with a pointy chin. You'll also notice the skin tone has changed quite a bit. So from this to this is what we're trying to achieve. So to get started, I already set my image to 8.5 by 11 with a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. It's a good idea to pick a high quality image, and this manga effect works best with a younger subject with really nice smooth skin. So if you can find somebody like that, you're going to have a better result. Let's look at our manga one more time. Get an idea in our mind what this is going to look like, and then we'll get started. So first I'm going to duplicate my original image. I'll double click on the background and I'll call this original. And I want to keep that original image so I have a reference. In case I make a mistake, I can go back to that easily, and I'll lock that. And then I will rename my duplicate layer Manga. And that's where I'll be doing all my adjustments. So to get this manga effect, we're using the liquify tool, and you can find that under filter. So go to filter, liquify, and in the liquify tool, this is new to Photoshop CC, you have this face aware liquify. And you can use this, although it's not going to get us quite to where we need to be. So we'll need to use some of the tools on the left hand side as well. But let's go ahead and start with the eyes. So you'll notice that there is an eye size feature in here. What I want to do is I want to chain the eye size together. So when I increase one eye, the other eye increases as well. So I have it at maximum 100% increase on that. The other thing I'll do is decrease the nose width as much as it'll let me, and decrease the mouth width as much as it'll let me. And I'm going to increase the nose height, actually decrease the nose height. I want to bring the nose down closer to the mouth as much as possible. I'll also decrease the upper lip as much as it'll let me, and the lower lip. I'll also decrease the upper lip, so I'm moving it down as much as possible, and I'm going to increase the lower lip up as much as possible. The mouth height, I'll just probably leave that alone for right now. I'll put that back at 0. Okay, so I have a start of this. Let me go ahead and accept it. And I can easily see the change by turning off my manga. So this was the original, and this is my new manga. And if I compare that to where I want to be, you can see I still have a ways to go. So I'm going to go back into my liquify tool, and I can zoom in as I'm doing this. So I'll zoom in on one of the eyes here. Now, when I'm working over here with the tools on the left, I cannot work on both eyes at the same time. So I'm going to need to work with one eye at a time. So I'll focus on this eye to start with. So I'm using the bloat tool, which looks like this right here. And I want to use a fairly large brush when I do this. And I want to work pretty slowly. So I don't want to get too crazy with this. And I don't want to lose any part of her eye. So for example, I don't want to lose the pupil. I don't want to lose the highlight. I don't want to lose her iris or the whites of her eye, so I need to work very carefully. So I'm going to just bloat this out, but very carefully and one little piece at a time. So if I bloated the pupil out too much, then I wouldn't be able to see the iris or the color part of her eye, or I might lose that highlight, or I might lose the whites of her eye, and I want to be careful not to do that because we still want her eye to look like an eye. I'm trying to keep that iris as round as possible. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see how that looks compared to the other eye. So that looks quite different, and I'm starting to get there. Just going to work on this a little bit more. And the tough part's going to be, once I get this how I want, then of course I'm going to need to match it with the other eye. And that's probably the hardest part about this. So I think for this eye, that's looking okay. So now I'm going to do my best to get this other eye to match it. And I think the key here is to work very slowly. Notice I'm doing a lot of clicks here. This isn't going to happen with just 1 or 2 clicks. It's going to take some time. Okay, I think I was better about 5 clicks ago. See how far it let me go back. Okay, so that one eye, her left eye, is not great. I'm not entirely happy with it, but it's matching well enough. Okay, so I think I'm going to move to the nose now. And for the nose, I want to move to this tool, which is the pucker tool. And that'll kind of squeeze the pixels together. So I'm going to make this quite a bit bigger, and again work very slowly to just kind of squeeze that nose in smaller. I'm just kind of clicking and moving the mouse just slightly back and forth. Let's squeeze that nose in. Okay, and I'll do the same for the mouth. I'm going to go pretty big to start with. Squeeze that mouth in. Okay. And then I'm going to use this top tool, which is the forward warp tool. And this will push pixels around. Just kind of push her mouth in a little bit here. Okay, and now I'm going to make this a lot bigger. And remember, we want to give her a rounder face, so we kind of want these cheeks to come out a little bit more. It's a little bit wider on the cheeks. This part's going to be tricky because of the hair. Okay, but we want a narrow chin. Kind of a pointy chin. So we're going to pull this down. Okay, and when you're happy with everything, you're going to go ahead and say okay. All right, and you can check your result by turning your manga off, looking at your before, and turning your manga on, looking at your after. You're going to file, save, and there will be one more tutorial on this. Go ahead and name this your last name, your first name, and manga. And there'll be one more tutorial on this, and that will be changing that skin tone so that we get something more like this.